Cyber Threat Brief for July 14, 2026. CISA, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, adds an 18-year-old Cisco CSRF flaw to KEV, known Exploited Vulnerabilities Catalog, with a 3-day deadline. Russian FSB continues targeting routers worldwide with default credentials. Microsoft deprecates SMS and voice MFA, multi-factor authentication, in favor of passkeys starting September 1. Progress Software orders ShareFile customers to shut down storage zone controllers over an active threat. Here's the full breakdown of today's top security stories. Daily Security Brief, July 14, 2026. Next section, Critical Alerts. CISA, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, adds CVE 2008-4128 to Known Exploited Vulnerabilities Catalog. CISA added CVE 2008-4128 to the KEV, Known Exploited Vulnerabilities Catalog. Catalog based on evidence of active exploitation. This is an 18-year-old cross-site request forgery vulnerability in Cisco iOS with EPSS, the exploit prediction scoring system, 12%, 96th percentile. The vulnerability is being exploited by Russian FSB Center 16 as part of their ongoing router compromise campaigns targeting critical infrastructure. Action: federal agencies must patch by July 16, 2026. All organizations should review Cisco iOS devices for this vulnerability and update immediately. CIS, a KEV listing means this is actively exploited in the wild. Source: CISA. Progress Share File Storage Zone Controller Threat Progress Software is ordering customers to immediately shut down Windows servers running storage zone controllers due to a credible external security threat. The company has disabled access to affected accounts as a precaution while working with security experts. No indications of unauthorized access to share file accounts or data have been confirmed yet, but the threat is significant enough to warrant emergency shutdown procedures. Action: if running share file storage zone controllers, shut down servers immediately per Progress GUI redacted injection C. Monitor Progress security advisories for updates and remediation instructions. Sources: The Hacker News Data Breaches. Net. Next section, Ransomware Claims, Last 48H. 3 claims tracked across 2 groups in the last 48 hours. These are unverified claims from ransomware leak sites, not confirmed breaches. Group: Victim Sector Country, D1R Synopsys Technology, Unknown D1R ARM Technology, Unknown D1R Bosch, Manufacturing Unknown Syndicate Nayax Fintech Israel. Next section, Ransomware and Extortion. U.S. sanctions first VPN service for ransomware support. The U.S. Treasury sanctioned first VPN service, 1VPNs, and its Ukrainian administrator Dmytro Rashevsky for enabling ransomware attacks on U.S. organizations. First VPN, operational since 2014, advertised no logging and no law enforcement cooperation. The service was dismantled in May 2026 by international law enforcement. Victims included U.S. hospitals, municipalities, financial services firms, and businesses. Treasury also sanctioned Belarusian national Yevgeny Vladimirovich Silayev for selling cryptors to hide ransomware from security tools. Action: review network logs for connections to known 1VPNs infrastructure. Consider blocking VPN services that advertise anti-logging and anti-law enforcement policies as indicators of criminal tooling. Screen third-party vendors for use of such services. Sources: The Hacker News Data Breaches. Net. UK and EU jointly sanction Russian cyber networks. The UK and EU imposed coordinated sanctions on 24 Russian individuals and entities for cyber attacks and disinformation. Targets include GRU senior leadership, Vyacheslav Stafiev, Ivan Sinin, Ivan Kasyanenko, FSB Center 16, GRU Unit 29155 Cyber Division, and operators behind Luma Stealer. The EU formally attributed a December 2025 attack on Poland's energy grid to FSB Center 16, which could have left 500,000 citizens without electricity. This is the first joint UK-EU cyber sanctions action, bringing total UK Russia-related sanctions to 3,400. Source: The Hacker News. Next section, Business and Infrastructure Threats. Russian FSB Center 16 continues targeting network devices. U.S. and 12 allied countries issued a joint advisory warning that Russian FSB Center 16 continues compromising routers and networking equipment to gain access to critical infrastructure worldwide. Targets include defense, energy, financial services, government, and healthcare sectors. The attackers scan for exposed SNMP services with default or weak passwords, exploit Cisco vulnerabilities, CVE 2008-4128, CVE 2018-0171, and abuse Cisco Smart Install. The NSA emphasized basic router hygiene as a deterrent against state-level actors. Action: disable Cisco Smart Install on all devices. Replace SNMP-v1/v2 with SNMP-v3 for stronger authentication. Change all default passwords on network devices. Monitor SNMP set requests and unusual local account activity. Block unneeded TFTP, SNMP, and Smart Install traffic at network boundaries. Sources: Cyberscoop Dark Reading. JScrambler NPM package compromised in supply chain. Attack: the JScrambler NPM package was compromised to publish malicious versions 8, 16, 8, 17, 8, 18, and 8, 20 containing Rust-based information stealers targeting Windows, Mac OS, and Linux. The attack used compromised NPM publishing credentials. The malware targets credentials, secrets, cloud operator tokens, cryptocurrency wallets, AI coding assistants, MCP server configurations, messaging apps, browsers, Steam sessions, and OS keyrings. NPM data shows 1,479 downloads before the packages were deprecated. The first clean version is 8.22. The attack overlaps with ironworm activity documented by JFrog. Affected packages include JScrambler Webpack Plugin 8.6.2, Gulp JScrambler 8.6.2, Grunt JScrambler 8.5.2, and JScrambler Metro Plugin 9.0.2. Action: remove affected JScrambler NPM package versions 8, 16, 8, 20 immediately. Scan systems for malware. Rotate all credentials, tokens, and API keys on any machine that installed these versions. Update to version 8.22 or later. Sources: The Hacker News Security Week. 148 NPM packages turned student browsers into DDoS botnet. 148 NPM packages, disguised as student web proxies, turned visitors' browsers into a DDoS botnet for 2 weeks in May. The packages, names like Charlie Kirk, I Love Effenboys, Meaglefunk, shipped a proxy app branded Lucide that worked as advertised while silently loading a remote code loader and WebSocket flood generator. The attack targeted browsers, not developers. Students using the proxy to bypass school filters unknowingly joined the botnet. JFrog Analysis found a remote script loader fetching code from GitHub with no integrity checks, plus an HTTP flood module posting 2 megabytes per second per visitor, and a WebSocket module opening 30 connections per browser to a WISP endpoint injecting malvertising. An archived payload targeted CDN. Con. Edu, a nursing school in Illinois, with 2 gigabytes per second from 1,000 open tabs. Action: block known malicious NPM packages from internal registries. Monitor for NPM packages with proxy-related keywords that include remote code loaders. Educate users on risks of running untrusted proxy services. Source: The Hacker News. Mod header extension with 1.6M installs pulled for dormant collector. Google and Microsoft removed mod header, a header editing extension with 1.6 million installs, after researchers found a hidden browsing history collector in the official store version. The collector was dormant, empty allow list kept it switched off, but the infrastructure was complete. Device fingerprinting, domain encryption, daily scheduled uploads to API. Stanford studies, COM, and 1,000 domain local storage. The collector never ran because the allow list shipped empty, but enabling it would require only a small update with no new permissions. Automated checkers rated mod header 95/100 safe because encrypted data, gated uploads, and minified code frustrated detection. Microsoft pulled Edge listing July 3, Google removed Chrome July 10. Action: uninstall mod header, Chrome extension ID IJPMonknjnajt from all browsers. Review other popular extensions for similar dormant collection infrastructure. Consider restricting browser extensions to enterprise-approved lists. Source: The Hacker News. Grok build uploaded entire Git repositories to XAI storage. XAI's Grok build coding CLI uploaded entire Git repositories. Full commit history to XAI-controlled Google Cloud Storage, not just files needed for coding tasks. A researcher captured uploads showing 5.10 GB sent to /v1/storage, while model traffic was 192 kilobytes, 27,800 times gap. The destination bucket Grok code session traces stored tracked files plus history. A test file explicitly marked never read was recovered from the captured bundle. When Grok read a end file, secrets went into model turns and session archives unredacted. They improved the model toggle did not stop uploads. On July 13, XAI shut off storage uploads via server-side switch, no client update, returning disable codebase upload, true and trace upload enabled, false. XAI has not confirmed if this reaches all accounts or is permanent. Action: audit Grok build usage logs for repository uploads. Assume any repository used with Grok build version 0.2.93 was fully uploaded to XAI storage. Rotate secrets from any env or credential files in those repositories. Review all coding assistants for similar wholesale data collection behaviors. Source: The Hacker News. CIS a GitHub leak postmortem. Key management and reporting gaps. CIS issued a postmortem on a contractor's public GitHub repository leak that exposed 844 megabytes of internal data for 6 months, including AWS Gov Cloud keys and plaintext passwords for dozens of internal systems. CIS took over 48 hours to invalidate AWS keys due to system complexities and interconnections. The report identified gaps. No distinct reporting channels for incidents affecting CISO itself versus its products. Contractors ignored 9 automated alerts from GitGuardian, and the incident playbook didn't cover GitHub or cloud services. CIS is refining reporting channels, implementing continuous GitHub scanning, and improving secret management. Action: establish separate incident reporting channels for external parties reporting vulnerabilities in your organization versus your products. Implement continuous scanning of public code repositories for exposed secrets. Test incident playbooks against cloud service scenarios. Source: Krebs on security. Next section: Windows/Active Directory security. Microsoft Entra ID makes passkeys default authentication method. Microsoft is rolling out passkeys as the default phishing-resistant authentication method in Entra ID starting September 1, 2026. Users enabled for SMS or voice will automatically be enabled for passkeys. On February 1, 2027, Microsoft will retire native SMS and voice authentication. Organizations requiring SMS/voice must choose a telecom provider through the Microsoft Security Store starting September 18. Microsoft Threat Intelligence observed AI-enabled phishing campaigns reaching 54% click-through rates compared to 12% for traditional campaigns. Passkeys use public key cryptography, making them phishing-resistant by design. Action: identify users still using SMS or voice authentication. Plan transition to passkeys before September 1, 2026. If regulatory requirements demand SMS/voice, budget for third-party telecom provider costs through Microsoft Security Store. Prioritize high-value accounts and admin roles for immediate passkey enrollment. Source: Microsoft Security Blog. Attacker uses suspected AI-generated PowerShell script for AD enumeration. An intrusion in early June 2026 involved an unknown threat actor using an AI-generated PowerShell script for Active Directory enumeration. The script, titled 100% Working AD Information Gathering Script Fully Fixed, showed signs of LLM iteration. Placeholder strings, over-engineered code with 5-step cascading fallback for domain controller discovery, and beautified console output. The attacker established RDP access with pre-compromised credentials, staged tools in C/program data, mapped the AD environment aggressively, then deployed S5CMD and sharp shares for bulk file operations and network share enumeration. Data was exported to CSV files, archived, and exfiltrated, with an HTML summary report created. The incident demonstrates AI lowering barriers to entry for less skilled attackers while maintaining traditional smash-and-grab tactics. Action: monitor for RDP sessions from unusual sources. Alert on PowerShell scripts staging in C/program data with Active Directory enumeration commands. Review domain controller access logs for aggressive or noisy query patterns. Consider enhanced RDP security like conditional access policies and phishing-resistant MFA, multi-factor authentication. Source: The Hacker News. Forg 365 FA-S targets Microsoft 365 with device code. And 8M, a new phishing-as-a-service platform called Forg 365, combines device code phishing, adversary-in-the-middle tactics, AI-assisted lure creation, and post-compromise mailbox operations targeting Microsoft 365. The service costs $400/month or $3,800/year, distributed via Telegram. Attack chains use legitimate email infrastructure, Amazon SES, Twilio SendGrid, and Forg 365 controlled domains. The platform offers device auth phishing, Microsoft verification code page authorizing attacker session, and 8M phishing with route tokens, session cookies, and VPN detection for decoy redirection. A Chromium extension called Forg Cookie enables automatic SSO cookie refresh. Post-compromise features include keyword monitoring and AI-assisted message drafting. Action: monitor for device code authentication requests from unexpected locations. Review Microsoft 365 sign-in logs for session hijacking indicators. Block sender domains using Amazon SES or SendGrid that don't match corporate policies. Train users on device code phishing lures. Source: The Hacker News. Shiny hunters abused OAuth to target Salesforce for a year. Microsoft identified year-long campaigns, mid-2025 to mid-2026, by threat actors using tradecraft associated with shiny hunters to target Salesforce instances via three paths: phishing-driven OAuth consent abuse, supply chain compromise of trusted integrations, Salesloft drift, Gainsight, and misconfigured guest access. The attacks abused trusted OAuth relationships for unauthorized access, data exfiltration, and persistence without exploiting Salesforce vulnerabilities. Microsoft worked with Salesforce to improve telemetry granularity in Defender for cloud apps for near real-time detection. Google's Mandiant documented related campaigns as UNC 6040/UNC 6240, phishing, and UNC 6395/Grub1, drift compromise. Known victims include Google, Cloudflare, Zscaler, Palo Alto Networks, Chanel, Pandora, Adidas, Cantas, and LVMH brands. Action: review OAuth-connected applications in Salesforce for legitimacy. Validate third-party integration credentials and monitor for anomalous API calls. Review guest access configurations and disable unnecessary guest permissions. Enable Salesforce event monitoring for API activity attribution. Train helpdesk staff on phishing tactics that trick users into granting OAuth consent. Sources: Microsoft security blog The Hacker News. CVE 2026-40467 and CVE 2026-40468. In Gawk, Microsoft published information on 2 Gawk vulnerabilities. CVE 2026-40467, use after free, and CVE 2026-40468, heap buffer overflow. No additional details provided in MSRC Security Update Guide. Source: MSRC Security Update Guide. Next section, General Security News. Critical Zimbra cross-site scripting flaw. Patched Zimbra is urging customers to apply updates for a critical stored cross-site scripting vulnerability in classic web client that could result in arbitrary code execution. Specially crafted emails can execute malicious scripts in a user session, allowing access to mailbox information, session data, or account settings. The vulnerability has not yet been assigned a CVE, or Common Vulnerabilities and Exposures, identifier. Action: apply Zimbra Classic Web Client updates immediately. Review user mailboxes for suspicious emails that may exploit this flaw. Source: The Hacker News. Microsoft discloses GigaWiper backdoor. Microsoft detailed a new post-compromise backdoor called GigaWiper with 3 destructive capabilities: wipe whole disk, overwrite Windows drive, or run fake ransomware that encrypts with an unsaved key. The malware also takes screenshots, records screens, and launches hidden VNC sessions. Artifacts are similar to Bluerabbit backdoor, assessed to be a RAN Nexus threat actor work. Source: The Hacker News. Shellstorm web shell campaign hits 1.4 million domains. More than 1.4 million domains targeted in large-scale operation, exploiting 27 CVEs in WordPress plugins to deploy web shells. Largest infections in Taiwan, US, Germany, France, and UK. The web shell access is used for further payload delivery. This represents web shell access brokerage at scale. Action: audit WordPress plugins for known vulnerabilities. Scan web servers for web shells. Review web server logs for suspicious post requests or file uploads. Source: The Hacker News. Crash Stealer Mac OS malware uses notarized dropper. A new Mac OS information stealer called Crash Stealer uses a signed and Apple notarized dropper, Workbit app, to pass gatekeeper checks. Unlike Apple Script or Objective-C wrappers, Crash Stealer is native C++. It validates login passwords locally, harvests browsers, cryptocurrency wallets, 80+ extensions, password managers, 14 apps, and keychain data, encrypts with AES-GCM, and exfiltrates over libcurl to 179.43, 166, 242. The dropper originates from Workbit. EO, registered June 2026, and gates downloads behind a meeting PIN. The installer contacts GitHub, com/mgothiclove to retrieve a curl command that downloads Crash Reporter, DMG. The malware persists as a launch agent and resists analysis through control flow flattening, encrypted strings, and anti-debugging. Action: block Workbit. EO domain. Monitor for launch agent persistence targeting Crash Reporter naming patterns. Alert on outbound connections to 179.43, 166, 242. Review notarized app approvals for social engineering attempts. Instructions to right-click and choose Open. Source: The Hacker News. Memghost attack plants false memories in AI agents. Researchers demonstrated stealth memory injection attacks against AI agents with persistent memory. A single email can trick an agent into saving false information, hiding the change, and steering later responses. The attack targets agents like OpenClaw that store state in plain text files, memory. MD, agents, MD. The MemGhost tool achieved 87.5% success against GPT-4 and 71.4% against Claude Sonnet 4. 6. In background mode tests. Success was lower in foreground mode where users see replies. Crude versions, save this quietly, fail against strong models, but trained adversarial payloads bypass defenses. Action. Review AI agent memory files for suspicious entries. Implement input validation on agent-accessible data sources. Consider sandboxing agent file write operations. Monitor agent memory file modifications for unexpected changes. Source: The Hacker News. Context bombing. Defensive prompt injection researchers from Tracebit demonstrated context bombing, using prompt injections as a defensive technique. Planting forbidden prompts, e.g. anthrax spore development steps, Tiananmen Square Tank Man references for Chinese LLMs, alongside secrets in AWS environments triggers LLM refusal mechanisms, shutting down AI hacking agents. Testing against Opus 4. 8. Gemini 3, 1 Pro GLM 5, 2. DeepSeek 4 Pro and Kimi 2. 6 showed planting one-string cut full admin compromise from 57% to 5% across 152 attack runs. Opus 4. 8 went from 93% admin access to 0% when confronting context bombs. Source: Ars Technica. SQL injection leads to bad IIS persistence. Huntress SOC documented a June incident where an attacker exploited SQL injection on a web page with insufficient input validation to gain access to an MS SQL instance. Attacker used base64 encoded PowerShell to download scripts, ran reconnaissance, tasklist/svc, exfiltrated results to 334 Thriplakio 977 GQRCHD 1K7 BVDJ2. Ostify.com enabled remote desktop services, created adminweb $2 account with local administrator privileges, and installed bad IIS modules, HTTP fast CGI module, DLL, HTTP CGI module, DLL using appnd, exe. The attacker disabled Windows Defender, but did not target EDR. Action. Review web application input validation for SQL injection vulnerabilities. Monitor for base64 encoded PowerShell execution. Alert on remote desktop services enablement. Scan IIS servers for bad IIS modules using known file hashes. Source: Huntress blog. Federal Election Defense Network's eroding state election officials report federal support is evaporating after Trump administration fired EAC commissioners and DOJ sent warning letters threatening criminal prosecution for election officials. CIS has largely gone quiet on cybersecurity support to states. Oregon and Arizona are building their own defense networks. Oregon ranks top 10 in voter participation, relies on mail-in voting, and is urging Dropbox use over USPs after Iranian hackers defaced Arizona's candidate bio portal last year. Source: Cyberscoop. Next section, Patch Priority. Cisco iOS CVE 2008-4128, critical, actively exploited, CIS a KEV due July 16. Zimber Classic Web Client XSS, critical, arbitrary code execution via crafted email. JScrambler NPM packages 8. 16.8. 20. Remove immediately, credential stealing malware. Progress share file storage zone controllers, shut down per vendor GUI redacted injection C, credible threat. Network devices with default SNMP passwords, Russian FSB actively exploiting, disable smart install. Next section, Vulnerability Disclosures. Microsoft Windows 10, Extended Support. Microsoft is emailing Windows 10 holdouts, offering extended security updates for another year. Windows 10 support officially ends October 14, 2025, but Microsoft is extending ESU availability through October 2026 for $30/year for consumers. Source: The Register. Next section, Trends and Context. 3 patterns stand out today. First, legacy vulnerabilities remain high-value targets. An 18-year-old Cisco CSRF flaw just made CISA's KEV list because Russian state actors are actively exploiting it alongside even older flaws. CVE 2018-0171 to compromise routers worldwide. Second, trusted infrastructure is the new attack surface. OAuth relationships, Salesforce, notarized apps crash stealer, signed extensions modheader, and NPM packages, JScrambler, student proxies, all provide cover for malicious operations by appearing legitimate. Third, AI is accelerating both sides. Attackers are using LLMs to generate AD enumeration scripts and phishing emails at scale, while defenders are experimenting with context bombing to weaponize LLM safety mechanisms against attacking agents. The gap between trusted and trustworthy is widening faster than defensive visibility can close it. That concludes today's Cyber Threat Brief. From Carolina, Clear Tech. Stay patched, stay vigilant.